On today's show, BASF develops a scratch-resistant clear coat, Citroen axes the Cactus, and AAA reveals the true cost of owning a car. All that and more coming right up on Autoline Daily. This is Autoline Daily, the show for enthusiasts of the automotive industry. Did you know that it costs you about $8,500 a year to own a car? That's what the AAA says. Researchers evaluated 45 2017 model year vehicles and factored in depreciation, fuel and maintenance, and repair costs. Not surprisingly, small sedans are the cheapest vehicles to operate, about $6,300 a year, while pickup trucks are the costliest at $10,000. Even though it's often overlooked, depreciation is one of the largest expenses for an owner. The average vehicle loses $15,000 in value over the first 5 years of ownership. Maintenance and repair costs drivers nearly $1,200 annually, and owners will spend around $1,500 on average for fuel per year. The study also looked into electric vehicles and found they are slightly cheaper to operate than the average car. However, depreciation costs for EVs are very high, about $6,000 annually. To avoid that hit, AAA recommends buying a used EV instead. You know, there's not much greater than walking out to a clean, shiny car. And BASF has developed a new clear coat that will keep paint shining even longer. Its eye-gloss technology combines the flexible, elastic finish and strong weather-resistant properties of a clear coat with the high scratch resistance properties. In other words, it's more scratch resistant, has a higher gloss finish, and lasts longer than a typical clear coat. A global automaker recently adopted eye-gloss technology at one of its plants in North America and found that scratch resistance and appearance improved by more than 25%. And the good part for OEMs is that it can be applied with existing paint lines without any major changes. The Citroen Cactus made quite a splash when it debuted 3 years ago in the EU market. The design community gave Citroen high marks for the car's styling, and the automotive media praised its functional simplicity. But car buyers were not quite as enamored with it. Customers did not like the fact that the rear windows did not roll down, and the 5-speed transmission was considered inadequate. Sales peaked in 2015 at 78,000 cars in a segment where most of the competitors sell over 100,000 a year. So far this year, sales are down 24%. And Auto Forecast Solutions says the next generation Cactus was canceled and it will not be replaced. Still to come, a simple way for auto shows to boost attendance.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, your journey, our passion. Dow Automotive Systems, advanced materials that deliver better results. And by Lear, a global leader in automotive seating and electrical systems.
Steve Bruin from Foresight Research joined us on a recent Autoline this week, and he shared some interesting statistics about why people don't attend auto shows.
Why is it that people don't go? The number one reason is they either are not interested or not in the market and will only attend an auto show when they think they're interested in buying an automobile or a truck. So to the extent that you can communicate the enjoyment that comes from an auto show, you will improve its attendance. That's one point. The second point is, and that's the number one reason people don't attend. The number two reason that people don't attend is they didn't know about it. And this is, to me, is a shocker. That does not occur in Detroit, it does not occur in Chicago, it doesn't occur in Minneapolis, and it doesn't occur in Cleveland. That's about it.
So even in New York and LA, people are unaware that an auto show is going on.
And the reason for that is typically there's a 2-week flight prior to the show. And so people would say, if I'd known more than a week ahead of time, I'd have accommodated it into my schedule. And those shows that do a 4-week flights, for example, Detroit and Chicago and Cleveland, have a big, big jump in attendance. Detroit, of course, is a very biased market.
It's a company town. I mean, come on.
Exactly. But you take a Chicago, for example, And the penetration in Chicago, which is among the best in the country, about 23% of the Chicago households attended the Chicago Auto Show. About 23.
That's almost an amazing statistic. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah, I looked at your interview with Dave Sloan when you were there, and you asked him about attendance, and his answer was what an answer always is from a producer. He said, "Don't ever trust what a producer tells you about attendance," which is the reason we measure attendance. But almost 1 out of 4. You go to New York, it's 1 out of 10. Now, New York is a whole different thing. It's an enormous market, and the Javits Center isn't that big. So they're kind of constrained by what they could do. But a lot of the shows across the country get about 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12. I'm sorry, 10 to 12% of the households attending Chicago doubles that. And part of that is pre-show communications.
Of course, you can watch that entire discussion right now on our website, Autoline.tv, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. And hey, be sure to join us for Autoline After Hours Thursday afternoon. Joining John and Gary are their journalist colleagues, Joe White from Reuters and Chris Pockert from Roadshow by CNET. So if you have any questions, just send them to viewermail at Autoline.tv and then join us for some of the best insider discussions in the automotive industry. Coming up next, John answers your questions and comments in You Said It.
Bridgestone engineers are helping Larry Fitzgerald go long.
Bridgestone's dual Lenza Plus is engineered to go 80,000 miles.
I love anything that goes long. Long hair, long passes, long dogs.
We're gonna do this for 80,000 miles? Or?
Long hugs, long weekends.
Okay, it's that time of the show for You Said It, where I get to answer your questions and respond to some of your comments. And Tim has a question. Often talked about is North America's preference for sedans and European for estates and wagons. But why? How will this affect automakers' global production? Well, estates, or station wagons, are more popular in Europe than in any other major market. But it's not as if they dominate sales in Europe. Far from it. And as in the rest of the world, CUVs and SUVs are the fastest growing segments there. Automakers will continue to come out with new estate models as long as sales hold up, but fewer automakers are going this route, and they're turning to CUVs instead. Mark has an interesting theory about sales in the U.S. market. Could it be that sedans are not flying off dealer lots because Tesla has 500,000 customers standing in line? I have 250,000 miles on my 2010 Prius. I'm not on the Tesla list yet, just waiting to see what happens. Oh, that's an interesting theory, Mark. Through July, U.S. car sales are off 300,000 vehicles. And with 500,000 customers waiting in the wings for a Model 3, you might be onto something. And Megan to Rich B says, good and interesting report on the Dana CVT concept, except you left out one very important piece of information. What is the max practical ratio spread? Is it competitive with conventional and belt drive CVTs? Well, Dana claims its CVT will have a ratio spread of up to 8 to 1. Currently, Subaru claims to have the best spread for a CVT with a 7.03 to 1 ratio. So that would put the Dana Veriglide at the top of the list. Mike at San Francisco wants to know, do you think it would be cheaper to rebuild a Tesla, electric motor, battery, and electronics, than a conventional gas alternative like an Audi or Mercedes? Well, no way, Mike. If you include the battery, rebuilding a Tesla would cost a lot more money. For comparison purposes, a 100 kilowatt battery pack would cost around $22,000. Kariti Ganta says, after watching the After Hours episode 389 about FCA being possibly acquired by the Chinese, is there any possibility an acquisition could be made by an Indian automaker, such as Mahindra or Tata? Well, Kariti, FCA would likely sell out to any company that came up with the money to buy it, including Tata or Mahindra. Currently, FCA has a market cap of about $22 billion. No doubt they'd want a premium over that, so I figure for about $26 billion or so, FCA could be yours. Eric wrote in to say that he really liked the Autoline this week that we did on data monetization, where car companies want to collect data on people and their cars and sell that data. He says, once again, an excellent topic and program. You are the best, but I will be opting out. Eric, many people will want to opt out of allowing car companies to collect data on them in their cars, but most people seem to not realize that their smartphones are already collecting tons of data on them. Just about every app on your phone is collecting data on you right now, and that data is being sold. So I'm afraid the horse has already run out of the barn. Hey, thanks for all your questions and comments. We really like going through them. But with that, we wrap up today's show. Thanks for watching, and please join us again tomorrow.